So for my cultural artifact analysis, I'm going to be looking at the film Her, which debuted in 2013. It was written and directed by Spike Jonze, and the two main starring actors are Joaquin Phoenix as Theodore and Scarlett Johansson as Samantha. So the basic kind of summary of the plot is that Theodore is a lonely, slightly socially awkward man who works in a place where he writes letters that he sends on behalf of other people, and that's kind of his job. And so he's like a romantic. He is in deep connection with his emotions, but he is pretty lonely. He got divorced from his kind of childhood sweetheart, and they'd been married, and he's still kind of refusing to sign the divorce papers and is in kind of a depressed state when the film begins. And there's a new technology that's come out, and he purchases one. It's an operating system for his house, an AI, and it kind of comes with a personality. He chooses to give it the name Samantha. She obviously is a female, has a female voice, and initially she's just kind of running his house, going through his emails, kind of organizing his life. But the two become even more connected when they begin to share emotional conversation. Samantha begins to sympathize with him in his struggle to kind of sign the divorce papers, and she encourages him to go out on a blind date with a woman that he gets set up with. And the story takes a turn for the interesting when the two share a sexual encounter, which is strange because Samantha doesn't have a body. But it ends in seeming climax and orgasm for the two of them, and they begin this dating relationship where you see several reactions to it throughout the film. Some people are in total acceptance of it because technology has just advanced so far that she's got a realistic personality and she has emotions and she has all these things, and so lots of people are accepting of it, including Joaquin Phoenix's coworker, who's played by Chris Pratt. But when he tells his ex-wife that he's dating an AI, there's just like utter shock and disgust because he's dating a computer and can't deal with real emotions. So the story that the artist or author is telling about the world is that we live in this technological age, and really like the technology isn't too far off from what we actually have now. It's a place and a time and an age in this film where real connection can be made without actual human contact, which is kind of a sad commentary on human individualism. And so there's a striking scene where Theodore is running through like a crowded plaza, and everyone's they have their earpieces in, they're all looking at their phones, and the only time someone looks up from one of their phones is when Theodore takes like a really bad fall. And so individualism runs rampant in the society in this film, and divorce again is normalized, and phone sex with strangers, which happens at the very beginning of the film, falling in love with AIs can be seen as acceptable, and so it's a very technological and individualized society where real human connection isn't valued quite as deeply. And so kind of connecting to that, the nature of humanity and the human condition, as Theodore is kind of a specific case study, but he's isolated, he's individualistic, but people still put high priority on work to make a living, and, as well as leisure, which in the film is really just often going out to bars and those types of things. There is still like a high priority on connection and relationships, but it's of varying levels, varying degrees. So Theodore still has coworkers. He has a couple of friends that he knows kind of from earlier in his life, and romantic companionship. But again, it isn't just necessarily human-on-human connection and relationship. There's a lot of relationship anxiety that's demonstrated by Theodore, again, because of this technological age where it's really difficult to meet people and it's hard for him to make new friends. And so it's a very specific human case study, but the solution to the problem would just be to have a deep relationship of any kind. Theodore's connection with Samantha in the film is demonstrated to be organic and genuine and deep, but it does seem to promote human connection, as at the end of the film, Theodore is sitting on a rooftop with his friend Amy, who's also become divorced, and she puts her head on his shoulder. So that salvation really is just being in deep connection and relationship, having some type of person or connection that really fills that void in the human heart and soul. I think that the film is encouraging us to direct our attention and our love just towards being in that type of connection and relationship. Really, the ultimate thing is being connected and being loved. Um, so throughout the film, you see these different stages of Theodore attempting to fill that void, attempting to find that type of relationship. But love seems to be the ultimate purpose for human existence, and it's a love that where you're known for who you truly are deep down. It's not superficial. It's not fleeting. It's something that lasts a long time and is genuine and deep. And so, a Christian evaluation of this film would be that I think as Christians, we would agree with the basic premise that all human beings have this desire for a relationship and connection. And that was put in us by God. I think in Genesis it shows us being created to be in relationship. God says it's not good for humans to be alone. But a Christian criticism of this film would be that it's not a human type of love ultimately that we're seeking, because a lot of the love, even in marriages and things that where relationships are really well founded, isn't eternal, truly. So I would respond by saying that the true type of fulfillment only comes from a love that's higher than human love. Thanks.